¿Qué onda, friends? Victor Manuel Herman with On Golf reporting to you live from beautiful Phoenix, AZ. Currently at mi casa, rocking a sweater, which is weird for the time of year, but it is chilly, and I am cozy AF, as the kids would say. But what is not giving the warm and fuzzies right now is the recent protests that happened, I think, a week ago over the weekend across the pond in Scotland at one of the many Donald Trump owned golf courses, this one being Trump Turnberry. Some damage was done at a green. There were some choice words that were spray painted on some walls there. And there was a giant roll on Gaza is not for sale sign or mural near one of the greens, I believe. This was all done by a group that goes by Palestine Action, a pro-Palestinian group, of course, um, and just kind of wanted to unpack all this as best as I can. Being that with On Golf, we're all about spreading love and awareness, encouraging dialogue and understanding, and embracing community. And one community that is in need of embracing right now would be those in Palestine. So I get it. I understand there's damage done at a golf course, but definitely wanted to open this up for discussion or for further discussion. And kind of respond to, and this in no way is an attack on Peter Finch and the gang, but there was a podcast, Peter Finch's podcast, that I heard a little earlier this week, where he dedicated a segment to talk about what was done at Turnberry, which is appreciated because I don't think I've heard any other golf content creator talk about it. So with that in its own is very appreciated because now we have this discussion, something that he encouraged at the end of that segment. So kind of wanted to respond on some of the points that they had brought up, and being that they're, hate to generalize, but they're typical golf content creators, so they don't want to get into the weeds of everything, but it's definitely something that we do need to talk about, especially with golf and what can be happening, in the future. So that being said, one of the points that they had mentioned that this protest was done in response to a recent AI generated post that was on the official, I think, White House account, either on Twitter or Truth Social, which that may have had some impact, but I don't think it was fully the reason. I do feel that the idea of relocating a group from their land uh, is definitely falls under ethnic cleansing, right? So, which is also part of genocide. So that in itself is disgusting. Which that AI generated video depicted, right? It was Trump's Gaza and it being a utopian resort town, and that in itself just shows disregard of all the atrocities that have been committed. And what is definitely unfortunate as well is I do feel that this was in response to a recent press conference about a month ago where um, Benjamin Netanyahu was invited to the White House, and there was a press conference where Donald Trump, said that the U.S. would go in there, take over, own Gaza, and basically redevelop it into the Riviera of the Middle East. So again, another point as far as that just being disgusting. Again, you're relocating a group of people who have already undergone all the atrocities that Netanyahu has committed. Again, Netanyahu coming to the United States, who currently has a warrant out for his arrest, by the International Criminal Court, due to all the crimes against humanity and war crimes that he has been involved with, right? So that in itself, again, is disgusting. So I think there's definitely more to it. You have kids being starved out. Their resources there are basically cut off. They are being torn apart as far as family wise, and there's just thousands of innocent women, children, civilians just being murdered with no consequence. So again, just one of the one of the many points there wasn't just because of an AI generated post. It had something to do with it, but not all of it. Um, which kind of leads me into the next topic as far as protest effectiveness, and that's something that Mick and Peter were discussing as far as it just being silly, which is very disappointing. Just because I get it, like it didn't stop what's going on in Palestine or in Gaza. It didn't do that, right? But what it did do is it created more awareness, right? And it also helped this discussion. So um, as far as the protests go and the effectiveness, I feel like it did hit them, where it hurts. Being that Donald Trump, since the start of his second term, has been on the golf course pretty much a quarter of the time. So Donald Trump is very involved with golf. Which I think me and him share something alike, is that we both love golf. It's just I see the grand scheme of things, and I don't think he does. So, fortunately, this wasn't violent. Yeah, they did do some damage, and this wasn't the first protest that's been done. 9/11 families that stood outside, I think, Bedminster during the 2022 live start of the live golf season. They were out there protesting. I think they were just more outside of the grounds and protesting. As far as Trump's involvement with the PIF and live and the Saudis' involvement with 9/11. So definitely not the first protest. This one did have some damage to it, of course, but again, nothing violent. So I do feel like this was effective um, in creating more awareness and getting golfers talking about it, right? So again, their mindset, your typical golfer is going to find it annoying, that they can't golf a golf course right now, and Turnberry is beautiful. I don't know if I'd be able to afford the $1,000 green fee that's charged, but I feel like uh, it's a small price to pay for everything that's happened in Palestine. You can rebuild a golf course, you can rebuild a green. Yeah, it'll take some time. It's a nuisance for the groundskeepers. I totally understand that as far as um, golf course architecture. It's a beautiful course, but at the same time, it's one of those that it could be built, and you can give that back, right? You can't give back the lives of the tens of thousands that have been murdered. To put it bluntly, there. So it is one of those where it does, it is effective in that way, to at least talk about it and have an understanding of what was done and why it was done. Um, which leads me into the next point as far as the mindset of things, and it being a nuisance because golfers, don't want to think about, all the bad that's going on, and they don't want to have to worry about, everything that's going on in the world when they're golfing. But I feel like if we don't talk about this stuff, especially controversial items, then we are basically a part of the problem, right? We're not, as much as we want to say, oh, it's not going to affect us, it's not going to affect us, down the line, it will, in one way or another, we will be affected, right? So look with the damage that was done at Trump Turnberry now, some golfers couldn't golf that day, and now they have to face the impact of, having that green shut down for whatever, time frame that is. So it is unfortunate that we have this mindset of pushing it out of the way or not talking about it, not talking about politics. I really do feel like it would be more beneficial for us as a society, no matter, if you're involved in politics or what it is you do. You know what I mean? It actually gets us to see if there is common ground on some items, and see why some topics are an issue or why something is a problem. So that way we can be a part of the solution rather than be a part of the problem, because you keep on neglecting stuff, and small items can turn into, or small issues can turn into bigger issues, right? So definitely want to change that mindset. As far as us talking about issues, I feel like we can definitely do a lot better at having an understanding of where everyone's coming from. So um, definitely want to talk about it, because it also kind of leads me into kind of the closing thoughts of everything, right? The more you associate yourself with individuals that have hateful rhetoric, who are encouraging, and spreading misinformation, who dehumanize, groups of people. The more you associate yourself with them, the more it's normalized, right? And so you can see that and we could talk about this more later, but you could see that in like the sport washing that's being done by Live, right? As far as all the violations against humanity that they have been a part of, and just knowing as far as what they've been involved with, journalists, and groups of people within their country, and so you have these well-known golf content creators and golfers themselves accepting awards from, an individual who is basically um, involved with the Live PGA, merger, and it basically normalizes that and allows that to be okay, which is definitely not the case. And so we don't want that to happen, because that's just not right. We don't want to further dehumanize certain groups, especially Palestinians. Here, there's a big mass deportation effort against Mexican Americans, and we don't want to target those people at all. So, closing thoughts on this, we definitely want to be able to nip this in the butt as fast as we can. I hate the fact that a golf course was damaged, but at the same time, I feel like it's a small price to pay. So that being said, um, definitely appreciate everyone's time just to kind of hear my points of view on everything. We want to make sure that we are peacefully protesting. I'm definitely for that. But if something has to get broken, I'd rather that be a golf course than someone's face, right? So definitely appreciate everything. If you guys have any questions, we'd love to talk about this a little bit more. Definitely reach out. You can find us on Golf on Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube as well. So until next time, ask yourself, are you on? Peace, love.